Welcome to Feminist Frequency Radio. This is the show that asks you to be critical of the media you love. I'm Kat Spada.
And I'm A.C. Lamberty. And here's what Kat wrote as the intro copy for this. And I'm dancing through life.
I gave it 3 seconds of thought. And also, it was the second draft. The first alt was, and I'm popular.
And I suggest you try defying gravity. What are we talking about today, Kat?
It's our last full episode of the year before taking a couple weeks off for a holiday break. We just had to make sure that we had a discussion about the blockbuster fantasy musical Wicked Part 1. Directed by Jon M. It's an adaptation of the first act of the stage musical, which is based on the 1995 novel by Gregory Maguire. After over a decade in development, the film finally came to life, only to have production halted by last year's actors' strike. Already getting award nominations and having broken box office records, Wicked stars Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba and Ariana Grande as Glinda, with supporting performances from Jonathan Bailey, Michelle Yeoh, and Jeff Goldblum.
Are people born wicked? Or do they have wickedness thrust upon them?
Welcome, new students, to Shiz University. Miss
Elphaba.
You can room with Miss Glinda.
Oh, popular. I know about popular. Oh, I saved you some space, by the way.
Do you really think this is fair?
I do not. I was promised a private suite. But thanks for asking.
Come with me.
What?
To meet the wizard.
I couldn't possibly. This is your moment. I'm coming.
This wicked witch.
The story bounces between the troubles of going to a new school when you don't fit in and the threat to marginalized communities from authoritarian governments. Elphaba accompanies her sister Nessa Rose to Shiz University, which is amazing, and is encouraged to enroll as a student when Madame Morrible sees how powerful her magic is. Glinda, the center of the social scene, is forced to be Elphaba's roommate, and the two antagonize each other in a lesbianic way until eventually becoming the best of friends. When they finally get a chance to meet the Wizard of Oz, both women are forced to face their own values in order to survive. And let me start by saying that I have not been consuming any media around this movie. I don't know any press. I haven't been reading reviews, like literally anything besides the movie itself. So I'm going to need you to give me a lot of context.
I mean, I would say, I think that I have been surprised at how positive the reaction is. Mm-hmm. But I similarly, I was out of town. And so I didn't see this movie until it's been in theaters for 3 weeks. I was like, yeah, of course I'm going to see Wicked. It's the big deal. I'm going to go see Wicked. When I sat down, I immediately remembered how big of a part of my personality Wicked was when I was younger.
Yeah. I do not have that experience, but friends have said the same thing, or it's all of a sudden it rushed back that I knew every single word randomly.
Exactly. I actually had this feeling of
loathing?
Oh, yeah. But I was like, oh, can this be Harry Potter? Can this be my Harry Potter? Because that was a huge part of my childhood, and I have moved on from that, and that's great. But can this be the thing that I have a strong emotional attachment to really being obsessed with when I was a teenager? Yeah. And that was the fucking magic of the movies. Yeah. Where I was sitting there and I was
guess I would love to know your background with Wicked, because that's kind of in the age cohort I'm in, where a lot of my friends are this was huge for me when I was in middle school, high school. I was such a theater kid and I was listening to it all the time or whatever. I did not know really anything about it, even though I was in the pit orchestra in high school. But this was almost completely unfamiliar to me going in.
Yeah, it's funny. I definitely it's not wrong for me to be I was a musical theater head. That's true, but just because I'd forgotten that was part of my teenage years. And so I suppose that this was on Broadway and making a huge splash on Broadway when I was a teenager. But it would be a few years before I ever saw it because I was on the other side of the country.
Right.
And I remember like buying the book at Costco, you know, like it having a big end cap at Costco because
and
they
it
probably
was that kind of Costco size. You know what I mean?
yeah, like a big
small and thick
trade paperback though, and like
totally
that it was definitely like, oh, we republished it because it's on Broadway now, like that kind of moment. And so reading the book, and that was probably the first thing I'd read that was like a reimagining of the classic, and that was exciting to me. So then when I was in college was when it came to LA. And by that point, like I had listened to the Broadway cast recording 1,000 times. And so my one of my friends and I who had an extremely like queer relationship to musical theater, she and I were
much like the two leads in this film, one might say.
Very much. This was very much like, we're both straight women, wink, wink. Like, anyway, what we do is nobody else's business. But the original Broadway cast recording that we're listening to. So we went to the Pantages to see Wicked.
That's sweet.
And I remember, like, crying during Defying Gravity in a way that I was surprised by. Like, I have listened to this song so many times. Why is this performance moving me so? And let me tell you, flash forward to 2024, I was crying so disgustingly hard during Defying Gravity that I think my friends, like, genuinely thought I was upset, not just moved. But I was like, she did such a good job. So
that's the thing about musical theater, though. Like, I don't know. Okay, this is okay. Big spoiler for me is that I love this movie, which is like really surprising for me as someone who's a huge fucking hater. But I had a great time, and I love musical theater. And in a year where we had Mean Girls, which was ass, and Joker Folie à Deux, which was ass, both like musicals that were not musicals, that took singles and just expected them to fit into a movie and had nothing around them, like no musical context. I was just like, oh my God, it's amazing to see something that is actually a movie musical. Like, it was so fun in that regard. And I always just get emotional with musical theater because I'm like, these people are working so hard and they're doing like 9 things at once and it's amazing. And they're like living their dreams. I don't know.
I felt like this was a real triumph of adaptation when you think about like how dilute it could be from like the original material. Like there was a book and then there was a movie and then there was a book that reimagined the movie and then they turned that into a musical. Yeah, I mean,
and
if
you said
think
that
about, like,
development took like a decade? I didn't know anything about that.
I worked at Universal Pictures in 2008 and they had the poster up of like Wicked, the adaptation coming soon. Like 2008. And that was back when they were still thinking, I guess it'll be Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel.
Wow.
No, but I mean, like, to take the Elf Frank Baum story and then the cultural impact of like a 1939 movie, turn it into
that is so crazy.
A story, a book in the 90s about being gay. Turn that into a musical. And like, you brought up Mean Girls. And I feel like this is one of those things, too, where, like, this is a really successful musical versus, like, we took a movie and we tried to force it to be a musical, and now we're doing it, turning it back into a movie for some reason.
Totally. Man, it is crazy, though, that one of the biggest pieces of media this year and, like, for theater, like, a generation of theater kids, I can imagine this will be insane for annoying theater kids now, this movie.
Yeah.
Like, this is all based on The Wizard of Oz. What a crazy cultural touchstone to, like, basically create a superhero universe around. Like, I don't know. I really feel that after this, there must be, like, TV shows and stuff in the works. Like, it felt like Harry Potter to me. Like, it was very successful in that regard, I think.
Yeah, the world building and that, like, kind of, that's my question for you. Like, if you hadn't heard, like, all the weird malaprops, like, the things they do with their words, like, I feel like that could be so jarring if you're like, what world am I in?
It didn't fully work for me. Actually, let me rephrase. When it was Michelle Yeoh, it did not work for me at all. And everybody else pretty much I was fine with. But yeah, the world building on the whole, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, I'll be sat for part 2. I'll be there. Yeah.
AC, she was bad in this, right?
She was bad, like very bad. Ugh, it was disappointing.
I think that's just bad casting.
I think so too. My friend gave the opinion that I've been telling everybody because I think it's brilliant and true that Michelle Yeoh should have been recast with RuPaul.
Oh, wow.
That was the one thing I did miss kind of on the whole. I was like, I wanted a little bit of movie musical camp that like
Yeah.
I get in Chicago and Hairspray and, you know, all of the kind of contemporary classics. It
Yeah.
should have been RuPaul. That would have been it.
Oh, that would have been good, especially like for the heel turn at the end.
Oh my fucking God. It would have been hilarious. It would have been so good.
Or should have been Bradley Cooper, as we're always saying. In drag.
Bradley Cooper is Nessa Rose. Bradley Cooper wishes he was Fiero or whatever his name
Oh,
is.
that was like...
Shall we get into
that was-
performances on this? 'Cause,
Yeah.
Wow, much to say.
Okay, so let's start with Fiero then.
Yes.
Like, Jonathan Bailey,
Gay guy of the
star.
moment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I already sent you the meme that was like, nobody cares about him being too old for university because he's so hot.
The Galvin Platt household, like that. That's
But he's like, he has chemistry with everybody, you know, like that's
Yeah.
why you put him in stuff. Like he is believably real in it, but at the same time, he's got one eyebrow raised to the camera to be like,
Yeah.
oh, isn't this
my
fun?
God, he's sexy, he's funny, he's everything. He is the moment.
Jeff Goldblum.
Okay. Truly, it is kind of like, not to be rude, but like the old people in this movie were just like, all right, whatever. Like, happy
Yeah.
you were here, I guess.
No, I mean, I think Peter Dinklage, who voiced the goat, like he should have
Right.
been the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
He would have been more, I think he would have been a little more like mean about it, which
Mischievous.
is kind of
You
what
know
he
who
needs.
should have been the Wizard of Oz? RuPaul.
Like an all Muppets movie, but it's all RuPaul.
Cher's version of West Side Story, her like one man
Yes.
version. Oh my God.
Oh, that's so good.
Okay,
Yeah, Jeff
Fiero,
Goldblum-
pass. Good job, Jonathan Bailey. Jeff Goldblum, forgettable, but he's only in part of it, so whatever.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh, flop. Sorry.
No, she was a miscast. Like she couldn't sing the one song that she was supposed to sing, and like
Yeah.
I think, obviously, like from her role in Crazy Rich Asians, I can see like why John Chu wanted to put her in this as
Totally.
like this authority figure, but yeah, didn't do
work for
much.
me.
Cynthia Erivo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard, I again haven't really read or listened to anything, but I feel like people are kind of talking shit about her. I thought she was really good. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like self-conscious about that take, but I thought she was really quite good
I thought
and
she was
evocative.
excellent in the musical performances. I can only see that, like, again, I agree that she was really good. I think that Elphaba, outside of songs,
Yeah,
doesn't have too much to do. Like,
you're right. And can read a little bit corny too when she's like, well, very like, I'm not like other girls. I love books and, you know, that kind of shit. But
yeah, and like, I think partially this was one of those moments where I was like, I'm looking at like a 30-something who's
yes.
going like, it's okay that you don't like me at school. I can deal with it. Like, I can shove that down because I'm above it. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
like grow up.
you're 37.
You're an adult, you know. But again, not Cynthia Erivo's fault in the
Right.
way that like, when she was singing, I was completely transported.
Yes. She has that skill set, which is like such a basic thing to say, but it's crazy. Like she is so evocative with her singing and like she's just so good at it. I don't know. I don't even have the vocabulary. She's amazing.
And so I want to, well, let's get back to, after this I want to talk about like the actors as like who they are as actors, but now in these roles, I mean, like Ariana Grande is going to get an Oscar nomination, right?
Perhaps even
Like-
a win. I don't know. I feel like people are going to really cream for her in this. And I thought she was great. Very
She
likable.
was really good in it. The only thing that's tough is I'm like, oh, well, she's doing a Kristen Chenoweth impression.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
But I don't want her to do something other than that.
Yeah.
And so she did a great job at that. Like, that's where it was.
And honestly, for the Oscars, that is enough. Like, that's totally fine. Because we're going to be like, you did the thing that I liked. Good job.
Yeah.
I will say
thought
that
she
intro
was...
with her had me crying, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, something about that's the power of musical theater, being able to be so emotional in such a nuanced way, and she nailed that in like the opening 10 minutes. It was incredible. That she was great.
Yeah, she was so funny, and she can sing beautifully. She could do these dance numbers with an energy that they needed. I think that's also why it's like tough that obviously this whole thing is like about Elphaba, but when you've got in Act 1, there's like so much of Glinda and the bubbliness and the big tap dancing numbers that it's like, oh, that's the star of this until Defying Gravity. But
yeah. Oh, speaking of, before we move on to the outside of film roles, thoughts on Bowen Yang? In retrospect, a little bit funny that this caused a complete breakdown for him.
Is that what it was, like the flying to England or whatever I heard him talk about?
That like New Yorker or New York Magazine interview where he was like, I was dissociating on
I mean, but like, what else were you going to do?
It is funny. Like, I don't know.
Was he going to not take this job? This like completely, like, he doesn't have anything to do in this movie and it's fine, but we're happy to see him there. And like, he gets to work with Michelle Yeoh. Of course he's going to do this.
Become besties with Ariana for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's all these like side people, right? Like the guy SpongeBob who in like Nessa Rose and all these people. And I thought they all like
oversold, I have to say. He was in what, 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes of this fucking 3-hour movie?
Yeah.
Ariana, well, I guess they did shoot them sequentially, so whatever.
I think it's also one of those things where like he and Fiyero will have more to do later. So they had to give them, like, there's more in Act 2, so they had to, like, give them enough.
If my fan fiction has anything to say about it, certainly will.
And the real star of the movie, baby Nessa Rose, the little girl who is the cutest person I've ever seen.
So cute. It's fucking crazy.
I like literally was watching a TikTok fan cam of, like, her one moment going, yeah. I was like, killed it.
She's amazing. We love her.
So you've not been on queer media. You have not been seeing posts about people holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity?
Because I work at a nonprofit and I was like, this is my coworkers essentially. But so I have seen the clip and I know it's a meme, as they say.
Right.
But otherwise, that's pretty much it.
So it's an interesting, like, press junket or whatever, because you have these two characters, Glinda and Elphaba. Then you have these two actresses who I think have very, very different, like, public personas. And then putting them together to, like, do all these things. It's a very fashion-forward press junket, which makes sense, but I feel like there's just something very, like, I'm very interested to see what happens in Cynthia Erivo's career. I feel like it's going to be very obvious what happens for Ariana Grande. Yeah. Like, she's already a superstar and probably she'll start getting some real acting roles after this.
Yeah, I think so too.
And she'll probably be good at them. Like, I think she is talented.
Ooh, I'm sensing something in the ether.
Tell me.
Spirit is present. She's going to have a supporting actress turn in a prestige HBO miniseries set in 70s New York where she will really get to be Italian. Because that is what turned Gaga into a real actress, capital R, capital A, when A Star Is Born. Being Italian, especially in the 70s, will win you awards. I'm feeling it. I'm sensing it for her.
I actually think that, well, that's so smart.
She'll kind of eat.
I've definitely been like, okay, so I think she's like finally embraced being white. Like, I think that's finally, we've come back around there. which is a net positive.
Yes.
But yeah, finally, I mean, I still I call her Grande because of Frankie Grande, who was like, yeah, we're Italian. But she was like, no, it's Grande. Let it be ambiguously like Latin or something, you know? Yeah, I definitely see that. I feel like, yeah, and she'll be like a mom.
Yeah.
She'll be like a really hot, like mom with like a baby on her hip or something, and then have to like solve a crime.
Oh my God. Wait, Ariana, hit us up.
Call us. But Cynthia Erivo, man, like I saw Harriet. She got an Oscar nomination for Harriet.
Oh, I forgot she was nominated for an Oscar for that.
2 for the song also.
Wow.
And then she played Aretha Franklin on TV, which I did not watch. But like, I am curious. I feel like she is definitely somebody who also has such a big persona compared to like her star power that I'm like, oh, I wonder. I just wonder what happens for her, because I think she can do so much, but it's like I would like to see her in not playing like a huge character that already comes with all these expectations.
Totally. I was going to say, it is interesting what you said about her persona relative to how known she is, because she was just kind of put into a movie and a press tour with Ariana Grande, and now it is like, oh, you're the same level of famous as her because you're with her at literally everything. So, but I don't know. It is refreshing and fun to me to see celebrities be so famous and deranged. Like, I did see some tweets comparing this to, again, Lady Gaga in the A Star Is Born press tour with her, like, 100 people. There could be 99 people in a room. And, you know, that her kind of canned celebrity moments. Like, I don't know. There's something so fascinating about that. Yeah, and seeing Cynthia Erivo get to like take up that mantle even though nobody knows who she is, relative, you know.
Yeah, and she was a scene stealer in Widows, which was the first thing I saw her in, but which is a small role in an ensemble. But like, she was compelling, and like part of it was like she was very athletic, and I want something more for her that's not just like a biopic or
franchisee, because this isn't like a superhero movie, but it just does feel that way to me. Like you're playing a superhero. I don't know. It's like Shakespearean in that way too, where it's like you have this big archetype and you're just going to be that forever. I don't know. I really wonder what Idina Menzel has to say about all this. Truly.
I guess people are always like, well, Cynthia and Ariana were a feud, or there were rumors that like they didn't get paid the same amount, and I suppose that's been debunked. I don't know. Rumors that Idina and Kristen are like hate the new girls, and I was like, really? Like, how many dozens of people have played those roles since they have? Like, are they? Also, they can't really be expecting that they were
thinking that hard about that. Like, I just don't believe that. It's crazy.
I can't wait. I should share. I don't know if I should share on the air, but I should share with you, my friend, after we went to see Wicked, my friend went to see the Kristen Chenoweth holiday concert at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion and said it was a delight, but that the like liberal comedy stylings seemed to not resonate with a lot of the white-haired people in the audience who were expecting a Christmas concert.
That's endearing, actually, to me.
Totally.
Wait, okay. Speaking of music, do you have... two questions in this question. One, when you were a young person obsessed with Wicked, what was your favorite? Did you have like a part of the show that you were attached to? And now watching this movie, did you have a favorite number, a favorite kind of musical moment thing?
Yeah, so I really loved Popular. It's just so fun, and it's like the moment when the girls are finally together. Yeah. they're finally on the same team. Yeah. I loved how Kristen Chenoweth did all that, and I thought Ariana did a really good job. I think the one thing when I listened to it in this movie, I was like, I don't think I actually got this song, and it's so obvious. Like, it's there's no hidden subtext. But I don't think I really absorbed Dancing Through Life when I was youngster.
Yeah.
And
let's talk about this.
Yeah, like, where I was like, oh, head empty, no thoughts is like what this song is about, and not like this is about literally like, we're having a musical, let's sing and dance. I was like, oh, amazing. That's great.
I
That's
did
so
kind
great.
of love it. I found it like fairly effective satire almost.
Yeah, totally.
And and almost like a parody of musical theater corniness, which I don't think is intentional, but for me it was just like, oh, you can also read this as being about how fucking corny this shit can be. Because he was so corny during it. He was being a fucking cornball, but
yeah,
I loves it.
Well, and I think he, you know, we're used to seeing him as like serious Bridgerton brother, or like still haven't seen fucking hot guy show. What's it called?
Oh, Fellow Travelers.
Fellow Travelers, hot guy show.
I remember watching that, quote unquote, watching that during one of the most stressful work periods of my life. And my roommate would have it on and I would be on my laptop watching. And I would simply shut my computer for the sex scenes and then did not absorb literally anything else. So that's all I know about it.
Perfect. But he's been this like scowling guy. And so I think he had a lot of fun doing that song and it was great. And that was like, when you think about like, I did see some takes that were like, this movie should have been released before the election, which like fucking get out of here. Shut up already. That's such wishful thinking. But thinking about the like modern political context of this movie, which is modern and perennial and not new, right. I was like, oh, that song does indeed hit different. Like,
totally.
How great it is to turn off social media and not watch the news and not pay attention to anything and just dance through life. Isn't that nice?
Totally. I also think, I haven't read a lot about this and I'm sure there's better takes or more thoughtful examinations of it, but I feel like it's interesting to have a Black person playing Elphaba when the most well-known portrayal of it is like a white woman, and I feel like the duo of Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel is like read as pretty neutrally as a result, you know what I mean? Like there's not like an additional factor in that, but it was interesting. I don't know, like it did feel like the really pointed discussions of skin color was like kind of unavoidably attached to like Cynthia Erivo's identity, which I thought was powerful in a lot of ways as well. I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, like, also this is something I wouldn't have had a vocabulary for as a teenager, but like the way that white women betray women of color and Black women in order to like have proximity to power.
Yeah.
Was so effective in this. Like thinking
I was like shocked. I don't know. Like even just the framework in general of like, are you living your values? Like was really interesting, like very compelling to me and effective.
It just those little lines, like, you know, just come on, just do what they say. It's for self-preservation. And like how it was very clear that Elphaba had this like class consciousness and was like, I wouldn't ask for the thing I want for myself personally. I have an opportunity to make change for the greater good. That's what I should fight for. And Glinda being like, why would you be so stupid? Like, why would you do something like that?
Right.
That was just like, oh, I don't think that would be as effective if they had cast another white woman in that role.
Totally. And I do, like, I have gripes with the script and, you know, like a lot. I have a lot of gripes, frankly. But I do think, again, there is something about the strength of musical theater and, like, lending a bit of subtlety to that. Or if not subtlety, like, more examination through song where I was like, oh, I didn't feel like I was being delivered a, like, after-school special. I don't know. I felt like it was a kind of complex narrative, honestly. I was impressed by that.
Yeah, it's like a pretty mature... I think, like, if I remember, because again, I haven't listened to this soundtrack in so many years, Act 2 is very, very dark. Like, it's very much like, okay, now we've had this huge moment of defying gravity. Now we just have to get through the war, you know, like God. The fight.
Is it like Harry Potter style war vibes?
I think so. I mean, it really is like, I think they did a good job at the beginning of setting up, like, how she is going to be vilified in this way that feels very like early 20th century
political, for sure,
political, and like the aesthetic of that. But yeah, like it's a really mature story. I was watching it initially. I was like, oh, maybe I should go to this movie with my friend's like 10-year-old daughter. And watching it, I was like, I don't know. I just feel like this isn't for you, really.
Yeah. Which is interesting. I don't know. Like, I feel that this has more of a clear demographic. This is like going to be a crazy thing to say, I feel, but there is more of a clear audience for this or a way in than like Barbie to me. I feel more galvanized and excited about kind of an identity-based movie with this than I do with Barbie. Do you know? I don't know if that like resonates with you, but I don't know, something about it and its messaging and the story in particular, it just feels way more effective and nuanced, I guess. I guess nuanced is closer to what I'm looking for,
Well, I feel like there's this century of legacy here, like almost a century of legacy with The Wizard of Oz. And like we have such a strong association with like Friends of Dorothy, the rainbow, like the red shoes. Like there is something that I do think everyone has a cultural touch point.
Yeah.
Like everyone watched The Wizard of Oz on TV in their childhood.
Like that really is just so crazy to me. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, it blows my mind when thinking about like Marvel and DC and stuff in particular, but continue.
Right.
It's wild.
And Barbie, like most young girls probably were given a Barbie or a doll that was inspired by Barbie as a child. But like watching the Barbie movie, it was very much like, how as a child you definitely had this one opinion of what Barbie was? And I was like, no, like Barbie wasn't a big deal in my childhood. So I didn't look at Barbie and say like, she represents everything a girl can be. Like I didn't have that.
The hinging on a product is maybe what we're getting at. That's interesting.
Yeah. And there's just, I do feel like you're like, there's something for everyone here.
Yeah, totally. Of course, I do have issues. I see your note here that you think the color grading looks like trash. I agree. I have a lot of issues with how it looks. Was not a fan of the cinematography nor the production design, whatever. I did still feel like immersed, but more of like in a theme parky way where I felt like there was a lot of artifice, but like ultimately whatever. It was,
Yeah, I think that's something where I also wish like lean a little bit further into the stagecraft or the camp of it.
Completely.
Like
Agree.
if it looked more like rear projection and painted backdrops.
Yes.
Then I think I might have been like happy with how chalky it looked.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But because it was like, no, I want like, but I mean, this isn't Barry Lyndon. Like you don't need to do like, natural light and plant all the real tulips because you couldn't possibly CGI that. Like that was something where like Crazy Rich Asians was beautiful looking.
Yeah, vibrant.
In the Heights, I thought was...
Oh, yeah.
It had trouble, but like it was also very lush and like...
It didn't look bad.
Felt,
yeah, I completely agree.
So that was confusing to me. I was like, why are we feeling this like desaturation?
Yeah.
That was a bummer. But as for directing, I was like, I think I did quite like this. Like there was dance numbers in this that were electric, I guess. Like I was thinking of Matilda and In the Heights. Both had dance numbers that I was like, wow, we're doing good dance numbers with huge groups.
Musical adaptation on Netflix?
Yes.
Question mark? I didn't see that. That was like 2 years ago, maybe?
I highly recommend it.
Nice.
I think it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
And also candy colored. Like it looks good.
Yeah.
Like I agree. I was like, there is just stuff here where I was like, oh, I'm so clearly at Pinewood Studio.
Yeah. Well, I think similar budget level and approach and whatever was Wonka from last year, which I also thought looked like shit and, suffered from CGI disease. Yeah. Similarly, Gladiator, which I don't know if we'll talk about, but my God, some of the most infuriating CGI I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, there is just this kind of like ubiquitous studio look now that sucks. And I felt that hard with Wicked too.
Yeah. And John Chu is such an interesting career because it's like a Justin Bieber documentary, a step up. You know, like,
yeah.
I feel like that's not even his fault. I feel like that's something where his agent / studios were like, well, what are we going to do with him? Like,
yeah, right. It is interesting. That feels a little bit like the last of an old type of director who like starts out doing sequels and like threequels and then gets to do his own thing. Like, that's so interesting. That James Cameron kind of vibe, you know?
Yeah, but like, what is his own thing? Like, this
Dance
isn't
movies. People love to say that that's his thing, but I don't know if that's true.
Apparently, he's going to make Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Ugh.
Keyword Technicolor, please do that. But
good Lord.
But like, yeah, it's going to be what? Like Aaron Taylor Johnson. It's going to be
Oscar Isaac.
If it's Simu Liu.
Oh my God.
Friend of the podcast.
You know,
Simu
Simu is texting him weekly. Like, hey man, just saw Wicked. It was fucking amazing. Like, we need to catch up soon. Oh my God.
Oh my God. But you know what? He can sing and dance. I bet he would kill it. You know what? I'm seated. I'm ready. I'm ready for
He would
Simu
work
Liu
his ass off. That's for damn sure.
Oh my God.
Oh, I will say this is a musical I heard of recently that I'm now very excited about. The team behind The Brutalist, upcoming The Brutalist, the woman who's the co-screenwriter, Mona Fastwold, they just wrapped production on this musical about religious figure Anne Lee starring Amanda Seyfried. And it sounds
is she the one of the Angelus Temple, like the kind of cult from the 30s, and she like walked into the ocean and faked her own death?
I don't think so. I think she's like, the founding leader of the Shakers.
Oh, interesting. Okay, no, I was thinking of Maria Semple, I think.
That'd be cool.
Oh, so the Shakers, that's like, so it's like a period piece too, also. Okay.
I'm very excited. I think that's, I don't know. I'm interested to see the future of movie musicals after this because I feel like we haven't had a real banger in a while. And this like actually made money. So I hope, I don't know. I'm here for more. I fucking love a movie musical. The one about Parliament coming up with, the Dreamgirls director, Bill Condon, and Eddie Murphy, starring as George Clinton.
Well, and did Bill Condon make... he didn't do Chicago, did he?
Did he? No, that was... Let's see. Rob Marshall.
Rob Marshall, for
They're
sure.
the same. Did I say my mom's reaction to Chicago upon seeing it for the first time?
Was she obsessed?
She was like, that was really raunchy. I do think Richard Gere should have won the Oscar for it. Correct.
Yeah.
Amelia Perez. Have you seen yet? I still have not. I need to get to it.
No, I was just catching up on the feud that Selena Gomez is in with Eugenio Derbez, who was mad that they cast a non-native Spanish speaker to sing a bunch of songs in Spanish.
Yeah.
And then I saw the trailer for The End, the other musical that's like about to come out.
What is that? I don't.
It's
I'm googling it, but keep continuing.
My baby girl, George Mackay.
I love him.
Yeah,
he's working. I literally texted a friend yesterday. Harris Dickinson kind of been eating his lunch since like 2019.
No, I feel like he had Captain Fantastic, and he had 1917, and then I feel like everyone needed a different blonde boy. Yep. And but he's really good. So I think it's him and Moses Ingram, who's also very good. But the musical itself looks weird as shit, which I'm excited about. Like, I thought Annette was terrible, but I'm so glad it happened.
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way. Wait, okay, the director is the director of The Act of Killing.
I don't even know what that is.
That documentary about the Indonesian genocide.
Holy shit.
Where he has them reenact their... where he has the perpetrators reenact the killings that they did. It's crazy. Shit. It's incredible. But I am shocked that he is doing a musical and now I have to see it.
It's like set in an ice cave in the end times ? With like Tilda Swinton, and they're like, and Moses Ingram shows up and they're like, an outsider. And it's like a little love story.
Oh shit, I have to see this.
weird. And I'm just happy they're taking big swings.
Yeah.
If we're going to have like a successful movie musical future, I think it has to be big swings. It can't be Joker Folia-do. Like it can't be, jukebox songs from the 90s or whatever. Like, yeah.
Which is where I feel that, I mean, this is completely me hating from outside the club, but like that's how I feel Broadway is right now for the most part. Like it does seem like a lot of kind of biopic leaning stuff, jukebox musical stuff. I mean, revivals, that's always a thing. But like the new stuff really is like, okay, the Cher show, the thing about Donna Summer, Carole King, like all of those have been within the past like 5-10 years,
Yeah, and like I think that is what's interesting is like when you think about Broadway as a place where culture is born or like, where people go from all over to New York and what are they going to see? And I'm going to say something that everyone who knows me in real life is going to be like, shut the fuck up, Catherine. I think like the last time that you had people going to see something, this is wrong. Everything I was about to say was wrong. I just feel like you're a tourist, you go to New York, you want to see the Carole King musical, you want to see the Rod Stewart musical, great. Like, that's something everyone has a touch point for.
Yeah.
Hamilton was obviously a big, like, shock to the system.
Yes,
I think Wicked was a big shock to the system. But before that, it was Cats. And like, it was Cats for years. Because everyone was like, I've seen TV commercials for Cats. Yeah. And I can go see Cats and I can be involved in what Cats is. Yes. And like,
I know what a cat is.
Yeah, like, great. And so I think there is that kind of like, it's just like in Hollywood, like what are we going to spend money to produce? Something that people will buy tickets for. And so if they have seen the movie already or they know the singer that this is a jukebox of, they'll go to it. Otherwise, they're going to go to a straight play because they're into the theater.
Right.
Like,
totally. Totally.
I feel like I'm quoting theater camp when I say that.
Your fave of last year.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, hats off to Wicked. I'm excited to apply for undergrad at Shiz next cycle.
Well, as we wrap up, and it is our last episode before the holidays, do you have any movie you want to see that's like coming out around Christmas time? Should I see Gladiator 2 in theaters?
Okay. Here's where I am going to be a hater. I hated Gladiator 2. I saw Baby Girl in advance, which is coming out on Christmas. I hated Baby Girl.
Woof.
Nosferatu Save Me. I'm planning on like seeing that alone in my rural hometown theater on like December 28th or something.
Beautiful.
And I think I want to see The Brutalist very badly. I don't think it will be showing in Champlin, Minnesota, but I'm going to save that for January. But dying to see that, truly.
I will be seeing Nosferatu on Christmas Day.
Oh, fun. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I hope it's good. I really hope it's good.
I am too. I really do like Eggers. I think of all the things that are out right now that I'm like, I hope I get a chance to see this, is Conclave, which may not even be in theaters anymore.
Definitely like, streaming at this point, though.
Yeah. I was like, that's something I'm sure I can also watch on the small screen.
It was refreshing amid a year of really quite bad things, in my opinion.
Gladiator 2, okay, this is a really weird digression, but like, there are times when I think about Grey's Anatomy still being on the air, and I think about what else was happening when it started, and like, oh, this is really of a different time. Like, this is from a time of Lost and a time of like, all these other things. Like, this predates How I Met Your Mother. This has been around for so long. And I think about Gladiator 2, I'm like, oh, Gladiator was like one of the first movies we had on DVD. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And this just feels like it's not necessary today.
Completely. Yeah. I will say Denzel is amazing. I mean, not surprising at all. He is like, he makes the movie worth watching for sure. So worth it for that. Great performance. Otherwise, it was just kind of like a bummer. It was just like,
yeah,
I get, you're right. Completely unnecessary. It's like, I really didn't need this. I don't feel changed.
Now that I've seen Thelma, though, I want to see that young man in Gladiator, Freddie something.
Oh, Fred
Frankie.
Heshinger. I will say
Fred
Who Weekly's assessment of him and being like, he is not a heartthrob and he will never be a them.
Well, Jaleh, did a nice examination of what is a heartthrob.
Exactly.
Thanks to my deep dive on Glenn Powell with you. Yeah.
Oh, totally. Oh, my one last moment of haterism. Queer,
Yes.
also bad. That's it.
Oh.
All right. Great year, everybody.
This has been the 2.5-star year of cinema.
I am just that old Muppet. I am the hating ass old Muppet, and I don't care. Like, it is what it is. I'm being critical of the media I love, and I loved Joker Folia too.
Saw it fucking 2 times.
I know, that is
more than you needed to.
Whatever.
Well, that's our show.
I'm AC Lamberty. You can find me at AC Lamberty on Instagram and Letterboxd.
I'm Kat Spada, and you can find me at cat_EX_machina on Twitter and Letterboxd. And be sure to follow Feminist Frequency on all of the platforms at FemFreak.
And if you are a Patreon subscriber, be sure to stick around for our bonus episode where we're going to talk about our 2025 watch lists. Let's go.
Let's do it. If you like the show, please help other people find it by sharing, subscribing, rating, and commenting on your favorite podcast app. Give us a rating for the holidays. I would love to see that.
For Christmas.
Yeah. Please. Thank you so much for listening.
Happy holidays.
Bye. See you next year. Good night.